hit. Nope. Hold on. Hello everybody and welcome to Dagon. I'm going to turn everything down just a little bit and hopefully people can still hear my mic. Typically I have horrific troubles with that, but don't need no motion blur. I don't even know why that's a thing in games. But we're gonna be watching kind of like watching this game. It's pretty much like an interactive movie. I don't know if I hit affiliate or not. It kind of didn't tell me if I did or I didn't. It said you could set up monetization, and then I tried to set up like emotes or whatever, and it just didn't work. So I don't know what's going on. I don't think I'm quite affiliate yet. I think Twitch is just being glitchy. But if I am affiliate, thank you everybody for helping me hit affiliate, and welcome to Dagon. It has DLC. Ew. Well, we can't. So Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through the locations along with the plot. Hey, at least this game is upfront about that.
Appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh, I can look around at least. Very nice. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original story, its historical backgrounds, or the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. Did it tell me how to do that? I don't know. I want to find H.P. Lovecraft's bottle of booze.
At the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
God damn.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is
I know what that was. That
was or death.
That's my fucking controller. It doesn't need to be plugged in. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1861 through 1865, and in World War II, 1814 to 1818. It was, that was World War I, sorry, also sold without restrictions until 1914, under the guise of laudanum. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Serturner was who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Yeah, and it's gotten worse. You can read Discover Trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu. Turn off displaying trivia if you find that the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed at any time during the options. I like trivia, and a little bit of education is probably good for this goddamn world. What?
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Fucking gorgeous. Sorry, I love the ocean.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
It's so cool.
so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Yeah, that's not so bad. Right? Probably. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th July of 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, you will be defeated. No quarter will be given, prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited, just as those thousands of years ago. The Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at Germany. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. See, I always kind of wondered that because in like old media, I've heard the Germans called the Huns quite a few times. So I actually learned something. That's cool. I'm gonna look a little bit around. Oh my god. Put me here. I mean, granted, where I live, I have just as many stars, if not more, but it's still very gorgeous.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Man, I can like taste the brine. Congrats on affiliate. I didn't even know I hit affiliate. Nothing told me. Thank you though.
I had but little idea
Whee!
of my surroundings.
I need to set things up, I know. Thank you though.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Well, that's a better guess than I have, brother.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
That's kind of terrifying. You're just in the middle of the ocean. You must have rewards, so you must have hit affiliate. I know, right? I just didn't. I had no idea. Do I look for the North Star? That would be the Muse? Oh, thanks for the alert, Pixel.
And for uncounted days, I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful. It's so fucking gorgeous. Row. I can't drink any water, dude. We're gonna run out.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Aw, man. Yeah, it's not so beautiful when you've been out there a few days, I guess.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Yummy. Calamari? The inky black is very gross, though.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
Undulations.
In which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Right. Oh yeah, there it is.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I mean,
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
I could understand horror at this. Like, even the sky looks weird. That's the sun in the sky, but it's black.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Oh, the octopus is stuck upside down.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Right. That's what I said. Like, the first thing you look at in situations like this is the sky for sense. It's like I'm on the wrong planet now. That is a big ass octopus, by the way.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Only one?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Okay, what year did H.P. Lovecraft write this, and how fucking smart was he to even think of an explanation like that? God damn. Like, wow. Obviously not what's going on, but like, what an idea.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Well, and you'd sit there and you'd be like, did I hear the ocean? Did I hear a wave? Like, fuck no, dude.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Right. That kind of throws that out of the air. That throws that completely out of the water. Like, water. It's a salmon kind of thing. It's got a salmon face.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Why is there... I saw a shadow. Yeah, see, there's like a fucking... There's one on top of my head or something.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Huh. Dude, that whole fucking hill is undulating.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Even if you get back to the sea, where's your boat?
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
What the fuck is that? I mean, there's no way of portage. There's just no way.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
What is that? Like, my oceanography, well, that's not the right word, whatever, my marine science, my marine biology isn't that great, but, What the fuck is that? Some sort of squid?
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Is desert the right word? Tundra might be the right word. But desert is pretty, I think it's a fair description because it's probably hot as fuck now. Yum. It's a sperm whale. Blue whale? Oh, God. Sorry. I'm not a marine biologist. Blue whale. Has to be.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
And what the fuck are these creatures we're seeing? I mean, granted, back then he wouldn't know. Like, there's so much undiscovered creatures. You just wouldn't know. You'd be like, eh, I guess they were deep enough.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
Yeah, it's like a mountain.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Yeah, I'd imagine sleeping would be fucking tough.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
What do you mean?
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
And you could have seen anyway. Okay.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
I mean, fuck. Why not? I mean, you can see pretty damn well.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
I wish I could look down a little bit more.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Perpendicular.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Uh-huh.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Only, you say? Ooh. This makes me feel like I'm looking straight. Oh god, don't.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Wait, I made it all the way down? Ooh, what a terrible idea.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Ooh.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
A
An
monolith.
object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
A monolith.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
I mean, it's too...
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
It's too square. Like, Mother Nature can make some squares sometimes, but that is square.
For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I'd be examining my shit pretty fucking closely from the get, dude. The second I woke up, I'd be like, ooh. Oh no.
Now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
Oh god, no.
And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope.
There's no sea creatures down here either.
Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculpture.
Oh. Sculptures. Sorry. Is it seawater? I guess you probably wouldn't even be able to tell, and probably just tastes like sludge.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
I'm trying to look at it. I wish the glare was a little bit less. That's like an alligator thing. And a shark. Something with an octopus face. Cthulhu. And turtles. Of course there'll be turtles. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadow of Time, the Hunter of the Dead, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. Migo in the Whisperer in Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil that ending.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Mermen.
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
That thing, see, I think that the top one, it has like translucent skin. And then the bottom one is like suckerfish face. The right one is like some snag beaked type fish, like a puffer fish or something with like a harsh beak. And then the one on the left just looks really, really fucking human.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips.
Yeah, I can't see the left one all that well. I wish I could.
Glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Whoa. And I think that's the right one there. With his beak face. And maybe it's not so beaky.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size. But in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
I mean, you could only hope, right? You could only hope that this is just some ancient discovery.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Confused and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the mind, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
I lived?
murder by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Yeah, I mean, that was fucking ridiculous. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction. Again, for the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1919, was one of the short stories written during that period. In this example, excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm one or more nations would undoubtedly retain its secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. I mean,
once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
God damn. What a fucking room, dude. Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was commonly a noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonians' texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that reside in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. See, like, he has some misinformation that, like, he couldn't have possibly known because Google was a couple hundred years out. Well, not a couple hundred.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
The Necronomicon, goddamn. I got quite the little library over here, man. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and an anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works, after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu Mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's views of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu Mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. So he's the one that made Lovecraft look like a religious freak. Because I always understood that like he wasn't like highly religious. I understand that everyone believed in God back then, but like in my opinion of him and my recollections of learning about him, he wasn't really overtly religious, and if he was, why would his writings be the way they are? Okay. That kind of makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Of course, that's probably just somebody else's opinion, and it could be wrong too, so... Whoops. Like, keep in mind if I say anything that offends you or, like, you don't agree with, just keep in mind that I don't care. And try not to be so easily offended, okay? Okay. If I say something that's wrong, inform me. I love to learn. But as far as opinions, everybody has one, no one likes them. Let go.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave.
Transient surcease. Damn, what a term.
So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh, hold on now, buddy. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with a friend, Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated in 13th of February, 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and have never intended to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance. Hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other. Source: The Spirit of Revision, Lovecraft's Letters to Zelia Brown, Reed Bishop, H.P. Lovecraft, Sean Brannery, and Andrew Lehman, St. Joshi. I also don't like booze. I think prohibition is way too far, but he just said he wasn't necessarily against it, which... would I necessarily be against prohibition? I think it would lead to more problems than it would solve, honestly. Which is the unfortunate thing.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
shocking imagery. Shocking.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
The window. Hey, if that's here and that's over there, how much do I have?
It shall not find me.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
But I don't wanna. Come on, buddy. I mean, how would that big ass motherfucker that was the size of the monolith fucking fit into my apartment? My single bedroom motel room. Ooh. Hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out the other games and DLCs. I loved it. I gotta say, I love H.P. Lovecraft. Him, Clive Barker, and Stephen King. Oh, absolute kings of horror. Like, so good.
And scary stories have been accompanying men for centuries. They have many faces and forms, but what is their purpose? Why do we enjoy being afraid so much? During our therapy, I'll try to
Dr. Emerson's Nocturnes will guide you through the colors of dread. Hell, what the what? Oh, there's probably more from the other stories, right? No, I missed that many pieces of trivia? How? Huh. Well, on to the next game, I suppose.